Hey everybody, welcome back to Twitch and Box Sports Talk. It's week 14. We're going to break down some of last week's game, talk about some of the highlights, get our offense and defensive player of the week. Of course, we'll always like to start off with one of our favorite segments, and that's called What Made Me Twitch. I'm going to roll it out to Box. What made you twitch this week?
What made me twitch this week, and I'm guessing it made quite a few Eagles fans twitch as well, but A.J. Brown in his post-game interview said, I need to get the ball more. And, if he had a bad game, he's always said that I need to get the rock more, I need the ball in my hands more. A.J. Brown's always been that guy. But A.J. Brown had 15 targets, 10 receptions, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts only attempted 34 passes, so just under half of his Jalen Hurts pass attempts went to A.J. Brown on Friday for the Black Friday game. So A.J. Brown's always been a little bit of a diva. You didn't really hear it that much when he was under Vrabel because, Vrabel's kind of kept that ship together, I guess, but Sirianni doesn't run as tight of a ship, obviously, so it gets out a little bit more. But what definitely made me twitch seeing that when, you lose a tough game to a good Bears team, and you're coming out and you're bashing your coach and you're bashing your quarterback a little bit. Jalen Hurts has had trouble throwing the ball in the past. We've seen that. But also, like A.J. Brown, you had over half the targets, and you still had 2 touchdowns, so I don't know necessarily that calling for the rock more is the way to go about that, but that's also, Philadelphia fashion, A.J. Brown fashion, how to handle that situation. But definitely made me twitch. I'm glad that he's not a receiver on my team, or else I'd be twitching more. But Twitch, what made you twitch this last week?
Well, I'm going to keep it in the Keystone State and with my own team. I said we do focus on other teams besides Pittsburgh, but I said the thing that made me twitch was just the shellacking and like the complete lack of direction by Pittsburgh in the Bills game on Sunday, to the tune of Buffalo rushing for over 250 yards and outscoring Pittsburgh again 23-0 in the second half, of which T.J. Watt at the end of the game even said, I've never had a team run the same play so many times over and over again and have so much success. So this is Pittsburgh for years, and so we'll get to that later on State of the Steelers. But for years, I forget what the numbers are, but you go back to the 90s, 2000s, and Bill Cowher, and even I understand that the NFL back then was more run-oriented than it is now, or more balanced at least. But, it would literally be like once every 50 or 60 games that Pittsburgh would give up 100-yard rushing. That was if they did nothing else. And 250 yards in your home stadium. And Buffalo kind of took it easy at the end of the half. But, I felt like the epitome of that was still when it was But it's 16-7. It's still looking bleak. Offense isn't obviously doing anything for Pittsburgh either. But 16-7, Buffalo's got 3rd and goal from about the 7-yard line, and Josh Allen keeps it and runs it right to the right side, and he's hit about the 4-yard line. About 8. Literally, go back and look at the video. There's about 8 black jerseys around, and he just pushes forward right for the touchdown. Buffalo was the big brother and just punched Pittsburgh right in the mouth, and they didn't do anything. So that was the thing that made me twitch. It got so bad that Pittsburgh's known for their home games for where they need a big defensive stop in the fourth quarter, playing Renegade by Styx, and that gets the 65,000 people. People compared it to Philadelphia throwing snowballs at Santa because of how loud the boos were. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you watching the same game? And then after that came out the Fire Tomlin chants. I said, but just the overall performance on both sides of the ball, and specifically on defense. Again, I think they're the next closest team is like $25 million less or so per year. So, yeah, just a complete shellacking by the Bills and just piss poor defense. That made me twitch. They said they just ran the same play over and over and over again. We talked about it before the podcast, but Becky, somebody runs the same exact play. We're going to keep running the same play till you stop. That's just bully mentality. Do whatever you want, force their will. So. For Pittsburgh, used to be known for being the enforcer. They got exposed. So that was it. I'll get into. I got a lot more for the Steelers.
I know you do.
While we're talking about the defense, we'll just throw that out there. It's for Josh Allen and the offense. I had the Bills going to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. I said, but for them struggling against, granted, a very good, if not the best defense in the Texans. But and they struggled against Miami last month. And so for an offense that had struggled to average more than 2+ yards per carry, they're averaging over 5 to 6. And with both the starting tackles out for the Bills, who just gave up 8 sacks the week before, Pittsburgh threw a goose egg. So I'm really glad. I said I love T.J. Watt for what he's done for Pittsburgh. He's been the guy, but I'm like, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, for me, this week, Sunday, I had to go up to Kansas City to go to KU Med, so I didn't get to watch any games really on Sunday. I caught some recaps later on after I got back from my appointments. But overall, what made me twitch this week is actually the state of the Chiefs. And so I'll break both of those down for you right now. Patrick Mahomes comes out there and throws 23 for 34 for 261 yards and 4 TDs. So he spread it out. We didn't have much of a run game in there, but in a game where, I thought that we'd lose one to either the Colts a couple weeks back or the Cowboys. So I'm not necessarily surprised that that's where we ended up at. But it's do or die time now for the Chiefs. I mean, we got an exciting Sunday night primetime game against the Texans this Sunday. And that's what's got me nervous or twitching is that, honestly, I feel like if we don't win that one, we're almost mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And I've got tickets to that game on Christmas Day. And, man.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You have to go.
Yeah.
and I'm paying out a loss to the last Chiefs and Broncos game. So I'll be there regardless. But, I'd like to see them get this win, take home some opponents, that definitely are winnable games. But I feel like it's a win-out situation now if you really want to be at that 10-7 marker at the end of the season to even have a chance at it. Yeah. So that's what got me twitching. So you guys, I'll let you break down your offensive and defensive player of the week, and where do you want to start with?
Rolling here, Ben Johnson found his own version of Sonic and Knuckles for the Bears right now. 2 running backs over 100 yards. Kyle Magani, rookie running back, took it in the 7th round, 22 carries, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. DeAndre Swift, the, quote, bell cow back, you could say, 18 carries, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. That's on the Eagles defense, who had a top 5 rush defense in the league going into this game. And I think this goes to show that, Dan Campbell definitely brings an edge to the Lions, but Ben Johnson definitely had something to do with that edge and that team they were running up there, especially they ran the ball 47 times for 281 yards and 2 touchdowns against going into the game. Everybody thought that one of the best rush defenses in the league. So I think the Bears have something going and they could run the ball and give Caleb time. It definitely seems to work out. And now that they have this 1-2 punch or 1-2 combo, I feel like it's only up from here for the Bears. But that's my offensive players of the week on a backfield there. But.
Sure. Well, I know it's what made you twitch, and rightfully so. So I went with A.J. Brown on that Friday game, even though it was came in a loss against the Bears. Having 132 and 2 touchdowns. And I had A.J. Brown.
It's a hell of a game.
Philadelphia struggled for parts of the game on offense overall. But he was one of the few bright spots, and for really a week that I think Gibbs had a good game. There were a couple other guys I saw
Bijan had himself a game, but also they lost. So.
Yeah, Bryce Young had a good game. Only threw 3 touchdowns, only threw 200 yards, but I think he added another 30 on the ground, and then for that upset win, a couple of key first downs against the Rams.
I was going to say, you go back and watch that Panthers-Rams game. He didn't have obviously didn't have the stats, but you watch some of those throws. Those are hard put in a breadbasket throws.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I went with AJ because he was the only one I thought this week, one of the few, and I didn't want to pick George Pickens again either. So, I got the stats to back it up this week.
My defensive player of the week, Mika Fitzpatrick there for the Dolphins. Haven't really talked about the Dolphins too much this year. But Mika had 7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. He also returned a 2-point for a touchdown. So, solid game for Mika. That 1 sack was on the last drive there to kind of seal the game away against the Saints. So, shout out to Dolphins player for making the list. I feel like we could have talked about H.N. about any week because he's had a hell of a year. So, he deserves some flowers we haven't given him. He's an offensive player. But shout out Minka going down there back to Miami and figuring it out.
Yeah.
making them relevant again somehow.
Yeah. I had it for an honorable mention. I want to give a shout out to the Seahawks defense for having, I believe, 6 sacks and pitching a shutout. But my defensive player of the week was actually Christian Bedford for the Bills. In that win over the Steelers, it was 7-3. First play of the second half, Nick Bosa gets a strip sack, and Bedford picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown to give them the lead for good. And then about 3 plays later, after Pittsburgh got the ball back, for a series they had Mason Rudolph in and picks the ball off about the 50, which ended up leading another touchdown. So within the first 4 minutes of the second half, it was already 16. They missed an extra point, but it was already 16-7 Bills, and that was all they would obviously need. But Christian Bedford all over the field, 2 key turnovers back-to-back in the first 4 minutes of the second half. So he's my defensive player of the week.
Rolling into some injuries here. Marvin Harrison Jr. out with a heel injury, not officially on IR. He is a day-to-day basis. Patrick Queen possibly out with a hip linebacker, and then Kyle Juszczyk out with a rib injury. Knowing him, he'll probably end up playing anyways. Test came back negative on broken ribs, so he's just going to be sore. So knowing the fullback type, he's probably going to go out there and play. Then arguably the biggest one from this weekend is Justin Herbert. Went down with a hand fracture. Had surgery on Monday to repair it. He's listed as questionable to come back this next week on Monday Night Football against the Eagles. So it'll definitely be interesting because if he doesn't play, Trey Lance will be the starter, and that'll definitely affect the outcome of that game. So be on the lookout there if you are a Chargers fan or have him on your fantasy team. Just quick shout out to the NFL. This last week should be a reason why you love the NFL. The parity in it. Teams can win that when they're not supposed to, and Thanksgiving delivered all across the board. All I feel like almost every primetime game. I mean, the Broncos made it interesting in a bad way. Figured out how to win still, but I feel like just needed to give a quick shout out to the NFL for making Thanksgiving enjoyable.
Absolutely. And I said I missed all of the Sunday games, and I had to go back and watch a couple of the other ones. But man, it was not a disappointment. Well, other than my Chiefs lost, but
Yeah.
I mean the games were all good, and I hope that they can put that kind of package together for us in the years to come. So, yeah, shout out.
I'm trying to pull it up here. The Thanksgiving Day game between the Cowboys and Chiefs had 57.23 million views. So considered the most watched regular season game, beat the previous record by 36%. So everybody was tuning into that game. Yeah, I mean, also shout out here. I don't know if this might just be me, but I really enjoy listening to games on the radio. I don't know why. But I was listening to that Chiefs-Cowboys game coming back from Thanksgiving, and I sat in the car and listened to the rest of the second half, just sitting in the car listening to the radio because there's just something about it. Like, watching it on TV is fine, but just imagine it in your head and how good the first quarter was or the first half of that game was. It was really enjoyable for me to listen on the radio. A lot of these kids don't know what radio is, but it's an old throwback. But a couple questions for this week, or a couple things on the table to discuss. Hitting the first one is, do the Detroit Lions miss the playoffs? Right now, they're on the outside looking in at the playoffs. Started it today. Going down the stretch here, obviously they got a big game coming up on Thursday night for Cowboys-Lions, and I think that kind of turns into a deal breaker. So whoever wins that game is going to have the tiebreaker, and their records are going to be similar. And the Cowboys already have that tie as a kicker to the Packers, who are above them right now. So what is your guys' take on that one? I think the Lions don't make it this year. I think they're going to be on the outside looking in the late run with how the Panthers have been turning up and the Seahawks. And
I think the Lions are going to get it done at home. It's tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So by the time this drops, they'll be getting ready to
Later
take the
today.
field. Yeah. So I like the Lions in that game. I still think that Dan Campbell's got a strong coaching presence over his team, and his players believe in him. He'll be ready for that, and
yeah,
kind of in a similar state to where the Chiefs are at. This is, do or die time for them, and they've got actually, they're sitting in a little bit better position than Kansas City is.
Looking down the stretch, they play the Cowboys on tomorrow, and then they play the Rams, the Steelers, the Vikings, and the Bears. So I mean, there's
Those are three of those.
There's 3 really hard games in there, And then there's 2 games that are iffy because who know what version of the Steelers you're going to get. The Vikings obviously are. Probably shouldn't say Steelers. It's
That's a dub
Twitch's
for the
Twitch's trigger word right now, but
I think they get 3 of those, and then if they get the Cowboys tomorrow night, I think
they'll
in.
make it in.
And that's 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I feel like they win at least 3 and 10, and that'll be the magic number. And I feel like they might squeak in as that, surprisingly still, but I think they get in at the 7th seed. Because like, obviously Carolina, with that upset win last week that showed that they're for real, they can compete with anybody. But as far as like consistency, like I've been waiting for Detroit the way they started off the year, 4-1 or whatever, 5-1. They haven't really hit that stride again since. But I trust Dan Campbell to get it figured out, and I trust him more than the other teams. Although, you got the Niners sitting there at 9-4, so now you got you figure maybe you got the Niners and either the Seahawks or Rams.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of those teams will probably come from the NFC West. Then it comes down to, like you said, like probably this game against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then a Chicago team is 9-3, so they're up a couple games. Granted,
That's late. That's the last game of the year, so who
Yeah.
knows who's going
Right.
to play and who's not, and
yeah.
all that fun stuff.
But I feel like they get this, even though it's in Chicago. I feel like they get them again if it comes down to a playoff spot on the line. So I'm gonna hold out hope and say the Lions still squeak in as the 7th seed.
Rolling into our next question here about another team that's, you could say, struggling. The Colts on an 0-2 run here. Danny Jones, he has a fracture in his leg, but he can still run around and play on it. It's just like a minor stress fracture. So he's not as mobile as he was. So the Colts hit a bump, and I'm just interested to see what you guys think, how they're going to respond. I think this week they bounced back against the Jags, but I think obviously, I don't know if the Chiefs put out the formula to stop Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's been held under I think 60 yards the last 2 weeks.
I think that's the key right there. And maybe it was Kansas City honing in on that, but I feel like that's where the Colts are at, especially if Jones isn't out there. Not that he was tremendous, but I mean, he was definitely the guy that could put the ball downfield in situations that opened up the running game for Jonathan Taylor to come out there and put up some of his numbers. And I've got both those guys on my fantasy team. So, I've been watching that specifically every week. And so I'm looking at, who do I start in that? Not that this is a fantasy football league podcast by any means, but I think there's definitely the attention to all of their opponents is going to be, well, let's just stop Jonathan Taylor. Let's crowd the box.
Make Daniel Jones beat you.
And make somebody throw the ball. At this point, there's some question marks there. And if you can hold Jonathan Taylor under 100, I think you're winning some of those games. So I don't think it's I still think that they have a great team and some weapons in place. But like you said, if the formula is figured out just how do we stop Jonathan Taylor, then, they're looking at dropping a few more games, and then they'll be on that bubble. So that's just me.
I don't feel like they're in trouble yet because of so they have 4 losses. Is that right?
Yeah.
So they still had such a strong start, and I do believe that they are a good team. And they lost to a good desperate Kansas City team in which they were up by 11 points with 8.5 minutes to go in the game. And then they lost to a red-hot Texans team, like I said, who, no offense, I mean, to me, the top 3 defenses are Seattle, Denver, and Houston. So, and that's a divisional game. So, they have a tough game this week. But I feel like they'll squeak in. They'll get one of those playoff spots.
Well, I feel like this is the point in the year, though, where momentum means a lot.
Yeah.
And you
yeah.
definitely
Team
want to be
getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, you want to be in the win factor column now more than ever. Because if you haven't figured it out at this point, then you start to question, where you're at. So, I don't know. I'd be interesting to see what happens here this week with several teams because this is a bubble week for a lot of them.
Yeah, definitely a interesting week. Another team, last team we'll talk about here, kind of on a late season, not really slide because they've won their last 2 games, but it hasn't been necessarily pretty. But the Seahawks, Sam Darnold quarterback play has been kind of lackluster recently. So if we go back to the Rams game 2 weeks ago, 4 interceptions, has a 2 touchdown game against the Titans, who hasn't, except for Bo Nix. Bo Nix is not. Anyways, and then this last week, another passes. Sam Darnold throws 136 yards, 0 touchdowns. Granted, this game would have been closer, but the Vikings started a guy who threw 4 interceptions. So my question is are the Seahawks sustainable to be this good if they're, obviously the Rams is a good defense, so 4 interceptions make sense. But then the Vikings defense, who has been not hot at all this year and been very lackluster to say the least, and only throwing for 135 yards across the board. And granted, like, you play the Titans. The Titans are the Titans, worst team in the league at 1-10, but 224 and 2 touchdowns. But Sam Darnold also had fumble problems. He fumbled twice this last week, fumbled twice against the Rams, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested if maybe Sam Darnold's not always hyped up to be, or the Seahawks aren't helping him out enough. But if Seahawks, I mean, obviously they beat the Titans and they beat the Vikings the last 2 weeks, so it's kind of been swept under the rug that they're struggling. But this next week will be an interesting test with the hot Falcons.
Yeah. Now I feel like I've been saying it. I feel like that, like for my 2 teams that I've really enjoyed watching over the last month and a half would be Houston in the AFC, and the NFC would be Seattle. Just because, I mean, of course, I think today, as of right now, or at least earlier this afternoon, like the Rams are actually the favorite to win the Super Bowl. And with, I know that, Stafford, they lost this last week, and he had a couple uncharacteristic interceptions. I said, but he was whatever it had been 7 or 8 games. He was like 25, 26 touchdowns to no picks.
Yeah, he ended up with 27 touchdowns without any interceptions, and he threw those too late.
And they still have to play the Rams. The Seahawks still have to play the Rams one more time. Yeah. But I mean, to turn the ball over 4 times and then still lose by less than a field goal and have a chance, they just kind of ran out of time. I'm not excusing that. Credit to the Rams, but I feel like the Seahawks are legit just because, again, the balance they have. I know Darnold, like I said, has had a couple off weeks or up and down weeks, but I feel like Seattle's going to be on that short list. Which to me, it's them, the Rams. I would have said the Eagles under the last 2 weeks. I said, but now it's almost like, who else do you have in that NFC? Not the Lions. I really, as well as the Cowboys' offense, their defense, and it's still like it's the Cowboys that are choking the playoffs. So the Bears, great feel-good story. Packers have a good defense, but you said all year they've been the worst team, or best team, I should say.
The worst best team in the league, baby.
Their defense is playing lights out, but like Seattle's on that short list, and I'm my conventional wisdom says the Rams because of Matthew Stafford more than Sam Darnold, and because of they're also very well balanced. But there's a part of me that thinks that, like, just watching the eye test, that Seattle's the best team in the NFC over the last month and a half, even though they lost to the Rams. I think they get them back in Seattle, and we'll see. But
yeah, the NFC. The one thing kind of concerns me. It doesn't really affect me at all. But the NFC West, I feel like they're going to eat themselves apart, and they might not get 3 teams in there. Because, I mean, San Francisco might be sent at home with 11 wins, but they're going to lose another game to the Rams and the Seahawks. They're going to be down in their division, and they're not going to make it in. So it's kind of like what everybody thought the NFC North was going to be. Not the NFC North. The AFC North this year was going to be is all 3 of those teams are going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and they're eating each other apart. Granted, that's kind of happening now, but in a less exciting fashion.
Yeah, with the injuries to Burrow early on, and then Lamar Jackson, and then Steelers jumped out there doing early lead.
Yeah,
now things have changed dramatically in the AFC North.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interested to see. One last question here is, so obviously you talked about A.J. Brown earlier getting out of there. Maybe, I mean, they've talked about trading him in the last, feels like, since they traded for him in the first place. With all the drama he brings to the locker room. So if A.J. Brown does get traded, who do you think a good suitor for A.J. Brown would be this offseason? There's obviously a couple places I would think, and this sounds crazy, but Mike Vrabel, a connection with Mike Vrabel in New England, and obviously Vrabel kept him under wraps. Granted, he was a rookie, so he wasn't proven yet, so he wasn't as cocky and big-headed, I guess. But I feel like Vrabel was a guy that could handle him for sure. I could see him.
Yeah, sorry not to interrupt. I don't see too many people mouthing off to Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just scary dude. Yeah. But, I mean, maybe like a Houston Texans situation. I could see him going down there, and they need a wide receiver help. Yeah. Maybe Buffalo, just because Buffalo, I mean, if they don't make the good playoff run this year, they're going to be like, okay, we need a wide receiver 1. This by committee's not working anymore. So, but I think if A.J. Brown does get traded, I could see it definitely happening this offseason, especially with this is the So not last year, because last year, winning solves a lot, so we swept under the rug. But in the year before, when they lost their last 7 games, was it? When they went on that losing streak, Jason Kelsey's last year, that A.J. Brown was causing locker room problems kind of like this, and it's kind of rearing its head again because they're on a losing streak. Granted, Philadelphia blows everything out of proportion because that's just what Philadelphia seems to do when it comes to sports. But A.J. Brown would be probably on the move this offseason. It would be interesting. But where do you guys think he would be a good fit or a good place for him to take his talents?
I think you already touched on, not to copy your piggyback off yours, but Houston would be really interesting if they got it with Nico Collins and if C.J. Stroud was healthy for the whole year, then they have most of those guys on defense coming back next year. I am a believer in DeMarco Ryan as the coach. I think the most interesting and maybe the most, I don't know what their cap looks like, but would be New England, just because I hope I'm wrong. I said, but they clearly look like the favorite. I mean, even over them, I never would have thought Drake May would be a legitimate MVP candidate, but he's playing outside of his mind. So throw him as a wide receiver 1, and even if they keep Diggs, that would be a nasty 1-2 combo. Hopefully not, but I could see a New England or Houston. I don't really know out of those two. I mean, I don't think he's going to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Another one, because we're talking about New England, I don't know, you would know better than I, but for the cap space, but having a true number 1 in Denver for Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So
thought about that for sure, but I don't know if Sean Payton's never really been a big personality guy in that kind of way. But I mean, I feel like it would be a guy that would be worth taking a risk on, especially with Court being 31 now, 32. He might have just turned 32.
Yeah.
But with Court getting up there in age, and we don't really have a true wide receiver 2 below him, and it's another by committee. We're going to figure this out, and knock on wood, our by committee wide receiver 2 has worked out a little bit better than it has for the Steelers.
Yeah.
So we've had guys step up and play certain games really well. So.
And with that win Denver had over Washington Sunday night, I mean, you got to see a little more spark out of Bo Nix and the play calling, getting the ball downfield. I'm not talking trash on the Broncos at all, because their record, at the end of the day, it's wins and losses and where you're at in those columns. But they haven't had the same weapons that other teams have had around them. So you start thinking about, okay, so what do we need to improve on in the offseason to give us a better chance? And Denver's definitely one of them that could use some help either at tight end or wide receiver.
And Russ Wilson's off the books after this year, so we're not paying Russ Wilson $30 million to go be backup or third string for the Giants anymore. So then we're gonna have cap space opening up.
Interesting.
Or the Bills, you mean?
The Bills for sure. I mean, who knows what their cap space looks like as well?
Yeah.
Just because it feels like they pay everybody, but nobody at the same time.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa's playing out of his mind right now up there. Who would have thought Joey Bosa would have gonna have a resurrection in his career in Buffalo? But good for him.
Yep.
Yeah. And he smacked Aaron Rodgers.
Can you imagine maybe another one would be like a Chicago? I don't know if you want to play with compared to the other teams we already mentioned, we have probably a better shot at a title. But I guess you something like a Chicago, or I know St. Brown's really good, and I like Williams. Just about Detroit, something like that. So
Chicago would definitely be interesting too, because DJ Moore, they have young receivers, but bringing in a big name guy, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
With him
there
and
for sure.
Odunze, and then still having Swift under contract and Caleb Williams under a rookie contract,
and their rookie receiver Luther Burden's had a hell of a year. So it'll be interesting for sure. Another outlier here, for sure, would be Tampa Bay, because who knows what Mike Evans does after this year. And having a big,
I thought about that.
Having Mike Evans, big go climb a tree and go get the ball type player down there for Baker. And you got, obviously, Chris Godwin's older as well, so he's probably looking he's on the back half of his career. And you have Emeka Ibuka, who's on a 5-year rookie contract. So, I mean, I feel like they could swing that if they needed to or wanted to. So, be interested for sure. But that's going to take us into our question of the week. But the Twitch and Box question of the week is we're going to do our top 5 power rankings. So we're going to rank our top 5 teams in the league, not necessarily in any order, but just off the top. What we think the top teams in the league are. But right now, I have the Rams, even though they lost to the Panthers last week. The Bears getting a statement win over the Eagles. The Broncos on their 9-win streak. And then the Patriots, obviously, the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. And that last team I'm going to throw in there just because of pure momentum, and obviously they're not division leaders yet, but I think the Texans deserve to be in that power rank just because of how good that defense has been playing lights out. Obviously, shut down the Bills. That's why the Bills aren't in it for me, is because the Texans dominate the Bills the way they do a couple weeks ago. So those are my top 5 teams. Obviously, happy my Broncos are in there. Crazy to be talking about that the Bears have the number 1 NFC seed right now. The playoffs started today. No, but I definitely didn't have that on my 2025 NFL bingo card. But Twitch, what's your power rankings over there look like?
Well, I'm juggling between my 1 and 5 and where I have them seated. I said, but top, I'm the same thing. I'm struggling with the 5th team. I'm going back and forth. Go ahead. So for my number 1, though, this could change the next couple of weeks. But I have the Rams just because I feel like they've been the most complete team, most balanced team. I know they got upset last week, although. Like I said, conventional wisdom tells me to trust Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, but for that reason I'm going to put him at number 1, and number 2 I have the Seahawks because of their balance and their top 3 defense, the way they get pressure, the way they take the ball away, whatever it is, 31 takeaways over the last couple of years, whatever, for Seattle. So the balance they have on both sides of the ball, they can run the ball. They've got 3 good receivers. They have a decent tight end. Sam Darnold, I know he's been up and down the last month, but I have the Seahawks and. It's hard because, especially over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know if there's anybody playing better football than either the Patriots and Drake May. I've never thought he'd be a legitimate MVP candidate, but it's hard to ignore. But if you ask me right now, I think that the Rams and Seahawks would beat either the Broncos or the Patriots. But all 4 of them are playing outstanding. But those are my top 4. I would have 1 being the Rams, 2 being the Seahawks, 3 being the Patriots, 4 being the Broncos. And the 5, I think I want to go with. I hate to steal yours, but I think I want to go with the Texans. I kept going back and forth between the Bears. I know they're 9-3, but I just don't trust them down the stretch. Caleb Williams played really well, but still kind of inconsistent. He'll have a couple balls, he'll air them over the receiver's head, and I think their schedule's also helped where the record is. And not you still have to play the game, still take care of your schedule, who's in front of you. The Packers are right there. So, but we'll see if they even make the playoffs because of the 0-3 start. I said, but as good as the Texans defense has played, and whatever they've won now, whatever it's 7 out of 9, I think. I want to put the Texans there right now just because they're playing phenomenal. I don't trust the Chargers. I don't trust the Packers. I don't trust so. Greg?
Well, I'm going to break down my 5 of saying in the AFC, I'm going to go with the Patriots and the Broncos. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody else in my top 5 right now in the AFC. I'm going to still sit there with the Rams and the Eagles in there, but my 5th team, because I think that there's a lot of consistency in what we've talked about so far, but I take that back. So my 5th team, as I look between the AFC and the NFC of what team is the potential one to be in there, to me, it's the Bills based on strength of schedule rolling out the rest of the season. So definitely I think it's Patriots and Broncos in the AFC. There could be 3 discussions in the NFC between the Rams, Eagles, and Bears, but I would substitute one of those teams out. Probably I'm taking the Bears out of that conversation and putting the Bills in there because we have – we got what we got here? We're looking at Bills at the Patriots. That's the big one. That's the one that is going to decide it all for me. After that, I look at Bills Browns. That's a win. I think that they beat the Eagles, and I think the Eagles will still make the playoffs in that, and then they end up with the Jets. So
get
some of that is like momentum going in there. That's where my state of the Chiefs was at, is that the Chiefs have to beat Houston Sunday night, carry that momentum in there, and then continue to build on that. And I think that if there's a team that's going to build on that, even if the Bills don't beat the Patriots, I think they win the rest of those out and make the playoffs and I mean, for me, it's all on building on that December momentum. So that's my fifth team. Unfortunately, is a team that I don't like. But I mean, I've watched them play. They got wrecked by the Titans defense, and I mean, Chiefs lost to them. So it's spotty in places, but I think that if you're going to take the top 5 teams, I would still put them up there over. I put them up over the Bears in that. So I don't know. It's crazy.
I almost put the Bills because I trust Josh Allen more than any of those other guys. Even over Stafford and Darnold. I mean, they're playing well. It's Josh Allen, former MVP Josh Allen. So the only reason I didn't is because of how sporadic they've looked over the last month and a half, and the Texans get them on the head-to-head. But I won't be shocked if the Bills make a run and they win out. Yeah.
I hope that we get to have a different conversation in a couple of weeks. I mean, because there's a lot of teams, I think, that right now it's a game this week that means a lot going into what the potential of that is, of whether you're getting to control some of your destiny or you're relying on somebody else. And if you're relying on somebody else, you're not that hot team. And that's why I said I don't put the Chiefs in that conversation, even though I wish they would be there. I think that's why the Texans maybe are relevant in that conversation. But that's kind of where I'm at, is like, well, what do you think the momentum is? But I guess, to me, that's more of a question for next week, is who's got the most momentum going in there, because we will find out where some of those teams are at, whether they're sitting on the outside looking in, wishing a prayer, or if they've really solidified where they're at in their playoff picture as far as, where are we at in those last 4 weeks. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, that's what made me twitch. That's the state of the Chiefs. The state of the Lions and some other teams that are in there that said, you have to win games this week, and then you have to continue to win. And there's games that we've lost, obviously, as Chiefs fans, that you do anything to get those back, but
very much
just
so.
behind you. So
Speaking of a team on the outside looking in, like the Chiefs right now, the Lions on the outside looking in after dropping a game to the Green Bay Packers, 31-24, drops the Lions down to 7-5. Jared Goff, 20 of 26, 256, 2 touchdowns. So Jared Goff's consistency is still there. Just St. Brown goes down early in the game, finishes with no stats at all. So he's questionable to come this next week. I'm guessing he'll play, with it being a big game against the Cowboys. But Jahmyr Gibbs, 20 carries for 68 yards. Montgomery getting a touchdown in there with 32 yards. Jameson Williams stepping up to the plate with St. Brown being down for 7 receptions, 144 yards, 1 touchdown. And Tom Kennedy being the second receiver there for 4 receptions for 36 yards. So kind of a lackluster day on offense there for the Detroit Lions. On the other side for the winning team, Jordan Love getting it done, 18 of 30 for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 17 carries, 83 yards. And then I can't say his name, I'm calling him Devontae Wicks, 2 touchdowns, 94 yards. Christian Watson bouncing back in a big way for 80 yards and a touchdown. And Romeo Doubs getting another touchdown on 20 receiving yards. So, I mean, the Packers offense was what we had. This is a Packers offense we haven't seen this year. If the Packers played like this every game, I think I texted the group chat, they would be undefeated. I mean, Jordan Love was just throwing strikes to everybody. Shout out Wicks coming out and being kind of an untalked about guy, kind of that wide receiver number 2 for him, and coming out and just having a huge game, 2 touchdowns, 2 crazy catches for touchdowns as well across the board. But, I mean, if the Packers play like this next week, I can no longer call them the best, worst team in the league because, I mean, how hot their offense looked like everything they did worked. And obviously 4 passing touchdowns against the Lions defense is great. And you win a key divisional game there. So Green Bay Packers kind of getting hot at the right time. Maybe their offense is starting to click. Shout out Micah Parsons, deserves a shout out, or not really a shout out because this is what he got traded to do. But 2.5 sacks, just wrecking havoc. He shut that last drive down against the Lions. He's done that multiple times this year. Just he's
Closer.
he's literally the closer. Like they started which obviously this is neither here nor there, but they said they're going to start playing Enter Sandman for when they need a big sack because Michael Parsons is going to be the closer and just finish it for everybody. So I mean that's what you trade 2 first-round picks for, and so far he's proven that he is that guy.
Yeah. No, definitely a tale of 2 stories. On the one hand, like Green Bay, like I said, catching a little bit of momentum, winning a couple straight, and then I think it was the first time since 2021 or something like that they swept the Lions.
Yeah.
So, big win on Thanksgiving, and Jordan Love was one of those ones that was on the short list. I thought about putting him for Player of the Week. So he did have 4 touchdowns. Kind of like really started out red hot the first half, and then he kind of slowed down the second half. But still, even with Detroit kind of getting the momentum, making a push at the end, getting the 2 key first downs that last drive, and a clutch throw. So only his guy could get it. Big win for Green Bay. And I said they're only, a game back of Chicago, with Chicago coming into Lambeau this weekend.
Yeah.
So, and then for the Lions, just disappointing. And because this is about the 3rd or 4th game out of the 5 they've lost, where they definitely had their chances, and they're just not getting consistent pressure. And now they're on the outside looking in, I believe. So yeah, disappointing. So it's one thing to lose the first week of the season, and the Packers had the momentum after that Parsons trade and everything. But you get a chance on Thanksgiving to split with them, and then they would be a game up on Green Bay right now, and so disappointing. I feel like Detroit's gonna still be right there fighting for that last playoff spot, but definitely kind of like Kansas City, the noose is tightening up a little bit. I think having St. Brown go down, he's at least if nothing else, he's been their big play guy as far as like wide receivers go. I mean, their big guy is obviously Gibbs.
Yeah.
But as far as receivers go, but at least getting the first downs, that guy in the slot, he lines up all over. But I'm just saying, like, they could have used him a couple of different times, and so hopefully he's able to go this weekend. But yeah, just disappointing. Kind of started out kind of flat, and then they kind of made it a game. So they right before halftime, and then so yeah, we'll see. I said that's a big win for Green Bay, just to keep pace with Chicago and.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, that was one of my issues with the Kansas City game, was that last week I said that, I don't remember who my offensive player of the week was, but the AFC offensive player of the week was actually Kareem Hunt. And I'd said something about just we need to run the ball, control the clock, and not have penalties.
Yeah.
That was my secret to success against the Cowboys. And they ended up with 10 penalties for 119 yards, and between Hunt and Pacheco, they racked up less than 75 yards. Mahomes scrambled around for 30, but the penalties there is what killed him. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that when I'm looking forward to where we're at going into the next few games, I'm still focused on the same things. And Sunday night, again, at Arrowhead, primetime game.
Yeah.
I mean, you love the fact that your team's getting all these primetime games, and I think that has something to do with it. It should give you some momentum to play in some exciting venues, and then we're losing those games.
Yeah, and then you're not.
And then when you're not delivering, you're like, oh,
yeah,
this just makes that sting a little bit more.
Just because of the Chiefs and they've been in the Super Bowl the last 3 years and everything, you put them on prime time. Pittsburgh used to have the same problem all the time. But, I mean, as far as just like, you're getting everybody's best shot on prime time.
Yeah.
So, Jaguars play their best game of the year against the Chiefs. The Cowboys play maybe their first or second best game against the Chiefs. So, I think that's part of it, too.
Rolling into another team that's going to be playing on primetime this next week that took a loss last week. This Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Chicago Bears 24-15. I'm not going to spend too much time on the stats here for the Bears. Obviously, I already talked about 281 total rushing yards on 47 carries. Just outrageous in the NFL. That's some double-tight wishbone high school stats that we've had. Caleb Williams, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. Rolling over to the other side, Jalen Hurts, 230, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Saquon struggling again for 56 yards. A.J. Brown, obviously talked about 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. But this game was really just a game of ball control. I mean, the Bears had the ball for 39 minutes compared to the Philadelphia Eagles 20. Committed less penalties, 4 for 35. Philadelphia had 7 for 44. And then, I mean, obviously the second biggest stat of this game is just the rushing yards, 281 total rushing yards. Obviously, the biggest stat is 24-15. A win's a win, but doing it in that fashion against the top 5 defense, I mean, the Bears have to be proud about that. Ben Johnson taking his shirt off in the locker room has to be proud about that. I mean, it's a crazy game, and Philadelphia fans are somehow reeling more than normal.
So, yeah, for Chicago, that's a huge win. I'll be honest, I saw the highlights. I didn't get to watch most of it just because we were traveling back from Missouri from Thanksgiving with my kids. But, like, getting home and just seeing that the Bears actually, I didn't give them a chance to actually win that game. I do think the Bears are legit and competitive, I said, but with Philadelphia coming off a loss and being so up and down, I said, even with the offense struggle in the second half against Dallas, or them beating Green Bay, or them beating Detroit, the way that defense has played, and they're obviously Philadelphia is always one of those teams, 6 or 7 teams, that's known for their physicality, and to go into Philadelphia on the day after Thanksgiving, coming off a loss in Philly, and to rush for almost 300 rushing yards was the thing that I took away from that game. Was just like, if they can do that with the progression, and like I said, Caleb Williams has played really well, but it's been a whole different thing of Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter. So with him playing pretty clutch, much better than what I thought, on top of like putting with the running game and with the defense getting some people back, because the 2 weeks prior they were missing all 3 of their starting linebackers, and they were missing a bunch of people, and so like they're only going to get healthier. So maybe I should have had them higher in my rankings, but
I had the Eagles over the Bears in the top 5. Yeah,
but I mean, to out physical Philadelphia in Philadelphia in a must win, that was really impressive. Philadelphia, I mean, I'm still waiting for that first. We're now 13 games for them, or 12. Well, I don't. They've had their bye, so but still 12 games into the season, and I don't feel like they played a whole complete game on both sides of the ball yet this year. I mean, but the only bright spot was, and I think part of the frustration too is just looking at, and again, I'm looking at the highlights and stat line, but it's the inconsistency with their usage of Saquon Barkley this year, trying to get too cute, and it's just like, man, he was number 1 for a reason last year. Philadelphia's another ones like Buffalo and people like that I think will figure it out, and they'll still be in the playoffs. I mean, they're still gonna I think win the division, but still, I mean, that was a tough loss for them. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, interesting to be seen on that one. Rolling into another NFC heavyweight bout here. Carolina Panthers upset the LA Rams 31-28. Matt Stafford, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So finally broke that streak. He set the record with 27 consecutive touchdowns without an interception, but then proceeded to throw 2 interceptions later in the game. Blake Corum, second-year running back out of Michigan, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. Kyron Williams, 72 yards and a tutty. Xavier Smith, wide receiver 3, leading the team in receiving yards with 82. Puka Nacua with 72. And Devontae Adams continues to be the best goal line receiver in the league with another 2 touchdowns with 58 yards. Rolling to the team that got the win, though. Bryce Young, 206 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard kind of having a resurgence after his injury earlier in the season for 83 total rushing yards. Rico Dwandle having a respectable 58. Jalen Corker, wide receiver 3 for them as well. Kind of crazy. It was a game of wide receiver 3s, leading the team in receiving yards. But 74 yards, 1 touchdown. And then McMillan getting another touchdown in there. And then Chuba Hubbard getting a receiving touchdown in there across the board. So, I mean, Carolina Panthers just came out and played pretty much a mistake-free football game across the board. And obviously Matthew Stafford, three turnovers, 1 fumble, 2 interceptions, kind of cost them the game in the long run. And shout out Carolina for being an opportunistic defense and knocking off who everybody had as the number 1 team in the NFC, arguably the best team in the NFL, rolling into it. So I guess that's another reason that I started out with, enjoy the NFL and enjoy the parity, because, I mean, Carolina Panthers have been on a hot streak that have a better record than the Chiefs right now, 31-28. John Daly smoking a cigarette.
You should have stuck with your original. You said it about week 3 or week 4. It's like I'm just going to pick Carolina every home game of the rest of the year.
And I mean, this was a game. I was like, I think the Rams got it, and we talked about. I remember last week when we picked them. When we picked the game itself, we said, "Oh, it's not going to affect the Rams going to the East Coast, kicking off at noon." It did affect the Rams kicking off at noon on the East Coast.
I'm telling you, I say that every week,
Yeah.
but it's like
I thought the Rams were going to be able to overcome that, but they did not. But Carolina, proving that they can run with the big dogs. So maybe not this year, but it'll be interesting to see how the offseason goes for them for sure.
Pay attention on your FanDuel and DraftKings bets.
yeah. Oh well,
If that's what you do.
If you bet, we're not telling you to.
right.
If you'd like to participate in said betting activities.
Right. No, but I mean, like whatever they've won now, 7 of their last 10 or whatever, on top of, like you said, just a complete effort. I don't know how much, I say that all the time, like I don't know how much to make of that. It's a bit like, just historically, you look at the records of West Coast teams going to play 1 o'clock or noon our time, Eastern kickoffs.
Yeah.
So just uncharacteristic. I think that's a wash. You have those kind of games, and I think that they probably didn't take Carolina as serious as probably what they should have. They kept it close. It was only a field goal. And like you said, Carolina had to play a damn near complete mistake-free game. And having the 1-2 punch at running back, having Bryce Young make some big throws, had 3 touchdowns, didn't turn it up by the yards, but making some big-time throws, a couple of scrambles, for 25, 30 yards. It was a balanced attack. And so that's what everybody strives for. So I don't take a whole lot out of that of the Rams losing. For the Panthers, it's a good building block. Again, I think they'll be just on the outside looking in. They could squeak in, but maybe on the outside looking in the playoffs. But another one of those teams I feel like is playing with house money that no one expected them to be here at all, and showing that they can compete at that level. So
Yeah, very much so. It's obviously, you don't think too much into it.
yeah,
But also, it's a win. He beat the Rams, so
yeah.
go hang your banner, I guess. But I can't be right. Anyways, the Houston Texans upset the Colts. Upset alert has now moved on to 6 and. My numbers are all off on the paper. I'll look it up here in a second. But the Texans get the upset alert again over the Indianapolis Colts, 20-16. This game was a very good defensive game. Obviously, Sauce Gardner being out. Not Josh Allen. Jesus. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, not Josh Allen. Daniel Jones, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries for 85 yards. Alex Pierce leading the team in receiving with 48. Josh Downs stepping up, being the wide receiver 2 for 44. Tyler Warren, 3 for 22. But the Texans, on the other hand, not really having another, obviously, 276 yards, 1 interception for CJ. Woody Marks and Nick Chubb combined for 108 total rushing yards. Nick Chubb getting a touchdown in there. Nico Collins, 5 receptions for 98 yards. And Jane Higgins, 5 for 65. This was just really a defensive. I mean, usually when you go back, obviously we can't watch every NFL game, so we go and watch the NFL highlights or, watch the recaps. And the recap in this game was a lot of big defensive plays, obviously. We've seen what that Texans defense can do in prime time, and we saw them beat the division AFC South team against the Colts. And obviously Daniel Jones is playing with that leg injury, and you could just tell that he is not 100% where he could be, because Daniel Jones isn't known. I mean, he's known to get out of the pocket and run sometimes, but he's not known for a big rush guy. But he wasn't even running out of the pocket this week, just standing there taking it, and you can't stand there and take it against the Houston Texans defense that's been probably the hottest defense in the league, so to say. Mm-hmm. But the Texans getting hot at the right time at 7-5, and the Colts kind of cooling off a little bit here.
Well, and I feel like the Colts too also were taking advantage. I mean, I know they beat the Broncos. They shouldn't have, actually. No. But and I know they had the heartbreaker to the Rams, but the Colts, I feel like are just going back down to size. Yeah. So I think they'll be okay, because I do think they're solid enough with Taylor and Daniel Jones. But yeah, to me the story was again the Texans. I mean, winning 7 out of 9, they had chances to win each of the 2 games they lost. The Broncos being one of them. And again, they're averaging they're only giving up on average about 16 points, and that's exactly what they gave up to Daniel Jones. Like, I know that the Daniel Jones struggled against the Chiefs and the Texans, but I mean, it's still a really, really high quality offense, and so that was my takeaway from that game, was just the Texans staying hot, and just because I wanted to know, I'm like, can Houston really keep it interesting? I said, can they really overcome it? I'm a believer in them from the get go, but I'm like, sooner or later they're going to cool off that 0-3 start, and so like, can they really? And I feel like they shut down everything Indy wanted to do on Sunday. So
Yeah, very much so.
yeah.
Kind of changing it up a little bit here. Not really a big college football. We've dropped a couple things here about college football. But this week is college football championship week, so conference championship week is up this week. Just putting this out here because after this week we're gonna, have our playoff prediction for the college football, and we'll be covering that a little bit on here just because we're a football podcast, not strictly NFL, but so much parity in college football and all this crazy stuff. It's hard to cover it along with the NFL. But our conference championship games, the American Conference, Tulane at North Texas, which, believe it or not, that game has playoff implications. Big 12, BYU, Texas Tech. Texas Tech heavily favored in that one. It'll be interesting to see how that game goes. The SEC game, Georgia at Bama. Feels like it's Nick Saban and Kirby Smart again, but it is not. It is Kalen DeBoer getting Bama to that game. Big Ten championship, Indiana at Indiana and Ohio State. The game will be interesting, especially with Indiana getting back there after losing in an embarrassing fashion to Penn State last year. The ACC championship, Duke at Virginia. I don't think anybody had either of those teams making it to the ACC championship, especially with Miami down there and Pittsburgh and how good Clemson was supposed to be to start the year. But they both made it in. And then the Mountain West Conference, UNLV, Dan Mullins' team, old Florida Gators coach out there, getting UNLV into it against Boise State. So that's your conference championships for the week on Friday and Saturday. So if you're not doing anything, throw those on Saturday. If I had to pick one game you should watch across the board, obviously I have Big 12 bias, but BYU and Texas Tech should be a great game. Obviously Georgia and Bama will be a good one as well, but fuck the SEC. It's not different down there. They're just a bunch of hothead South people. They don't know what they're talking about. But we're going to roll into our picks for Week 14 coming up here next. Upset alert is a 6-3. Just figured it out finally. It's 6-3, moved to 6-3 after the Texans upset, so kind of on a hot streak with the upset alert, but we're going to have Twitch and Box game of the week, upset alert, and our predictions for Week 14 coming up next.
Good play.
All right, so we're going to start off with our upset alert on Week 14. It's Thursday night football. It's the Cowboys at the Lions. I don't know how we're going to remix this, but I already took the Lions, so that was my take. So let's roll into your pick, Box.
I have the Cowboys. Cowboys offense has looked hot across the board, obviously. George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Javonte Williams, Jake Ferguson. That offense has been good. Dak's getting the ball where it needs to go. George Pickens is jumping over guys. Guys are standing straight up. George Pickens is just clearing them because he can. Why not? CeeDee Lamb stepping up in a big way. And, obviously having two wide receiver ones on the team. CeeDee Lamb's still 1A with Pickens being 1B. But that defense has been playing way better. I mean, trading for Quinnen Williams has really solid up that D-line. They're getting some secondary guys back off of injury, and I think the Lions have been reeling enough that I think the Lions drop a game here to the hot. I mean, Cowboys are hot across the board. Obviously, the Lions are favored in this one at home. Lions are on a hot streak, and you never back Dan Campbell into a corner because you're gonna bite your kneecaps off. But I think the Cowboys go up there and get it done on a short week. The Lions not having St. Brown is huge. I mean, obviously they have some young guys that will step up, and we saw. I mean, the Cowboys' defense, we talked about being abysmal to start the year. Their run defense just started to figure it out. So if they can keep Jahmyr Gibbs in a box and make him go to other guys, I think the Cowboys can get it done up there in Detroit on Thursday.
It's an interesting pick because, my gut's honestly telling me Dallas because of, granted Philadelphia and Kansas City have kind of struggled over the last month and being inconsistent, but they still just – the way that they won both of those games emotionally in Dallas against both teams that played against us in the Super Bowl last year, I hate to admit it, but I feel like Dallas, like you said, on offense all year has been legit. Dak Prescott's played extremely well. Yes, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson. Part of me wants to pick Dallas just because I have a feeling because they have been so hot. But I feel like the overall team and just will make a couple more defensive plays. And like they're just as, if not more, desperate than Dallas, and it's in Detroit. I'm going to go with Detroit. But
Hell yeah.
other than the fact that it's in Detroit and I trust Dan Campbell, but I don't really feel great about the pick, especially with St. Brown being probably out on a short week. So I don't know. I don't feel great about it. So, but that might be lead more with my heart on that one. But I just feel like Detroit is too good not to make the playoffs, or at least make a run. And them losing a couple, like 2 out of 3, I just think that they find a way to get it done. Kind of like we'll get to some other games this week, but just teams that, for no other than the fact that they need it more than the other team.
Yeah.
I feel like Detroit gets it.
I agree with you, man. So that's Thursday Night Football. I'm excited for that. Sunday takes us into our first few games here. There's a bunch of them, actually. Not a few.
Yeah.
Got the Dolphins at the Jets. I don't know.
Both on a win streak.
Both on 3-game win streaks.
Yeah. Or both. The Jets are not. I got that one wrong earlier. But the Jets are on a win streak. One last week against the Falcons, believe it or not. And then the Dolphins on a 3-win streak, actually. So that's why I have the Dolphins in this one. I trust the Dolphins more for some reason. I mean, it's kind of like picking your favorite turd. Who knows? Who knows?
Your favorite turd is McDaniel, then.
Yeah. I like McDaniel over Adam Gase. I think Adam Gase can build something there in New York, just not this year.
Yeah. No, they've both been, for people that, like us that watch it every week, it's that both teams have actually, for probably 3/4 of their games, have been competitive in every game. And it's at New York, but I trust Tua and I trust the Dolphins, kind of sneaky, like beating the teams that aren't very good, more than I do the Jets. But they said that's kind of a pick-me game. That might be kind of an entertaining game to watch. No one's going to go into the playoffs or the Super Bowl or anything, but that could be a very entertaining interdivisional game. But like you said, I trust McDaniel and Tua over Fields or
Tyrod Taylor starting.
Oh, Tyrod Taylor, that's right.
So, yeah, I mean.
But still, I mean, serviceable backup that's been a starter. But I feel like the Dolphins get it done.
I will tell you this. My favorite game to watch on Sunday is going to be the Steelers at the Ravens game. I mean, we've been listening to the rant all year long about the Steelers, and Twitch has obviously called it out 90% accurate the whole year. So
98% accurate.
98% accuracy. So let's go back and just start with you then, Twitch, because that's your team.
Well, so my first thing about this thing, to me, it's I'm going to be biased, but I think it's the best rivalry in the NFL. You look back at Ravens came in the inaugural season in '96, and obviously the early success. But you go back to Big Ben and Polamalu versus Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all those guys. If there was ever, Pittsburgh, for more often than not, beat the Ravens, and more often than not, the Ravens were a thorn in Tom Brady's side. But you look at in the early to mid 2000s, 2010, like a lot of times this game came down to both these teams would finish 12-4 or 11-5, 13-3, and it would come down to this game specifically to who won the division. And a lot of times, like 2 different times, 2008 and 2010, we got the season series. We played them at home in the playoffs. We beat them in the playoffs. But my point is like 21 of the last 26 games have been within a touchdown. I don't have the other statistics right in front of me, but it's almost going up until that last playoff game, which Baltimore obviously kicked the shit out of us that playoff game. But you look at the points for, points against, turnovers, like time of possession, like every statistic is within, like, you could not be more 50-50. And I can't tell you the number of times that the Ravens had players that were injured that were, 5-9, or even with us, with Ben being hurt or like whatever. Or we had Charlie Batch in, and it still ends up being a field goal game. It just doesn't. This is one of those old school games. It used to be like college games where you can throw the records right out the door. 2 teams that have obviously kind of struggled. I know the Ravens lost for the first time in 6 weeks, but their offense has really struggled. But like I said, 21 of the last 26 have come down to the wire. I could be wrong. So far this year, I'm 7-5 picking Steelers games whether they win or lose, and so watch this be one of those weeks where. The sky's falling in Pittsburgh. They do it every year, and I've said it, for the last couple months. It was like when we started looking at this game on the schedule, watch that be one of the games they pick up. Everything will look desolate, and then these are the kind of games that Pittsburgh wins. They'll lose to a game like Joe Flacco and the Bengals, or they'll lose to the 2-14 Dolphins that year, or whatever. But they'll find a way. Give me the Ravens. Give me the Ravens. I mean, I don't trust our offense at all. And I said I feel like, yeah, I got nothing. So I'll save it for the rest of the state of the Steelers. I said, but like for as close as those games were, the last 2 games we played, like, and Pittsburgh had won like 8 out of 10. So for it being like 50-50, and Pittsburgh owns by like 10 games the overall series head to head. The last 2 games last year, like after being on a 3-game win streak against them, they kind of just waxed our ass by running all over us, and that's just it. That's right. Baltimore struggled. So did Buffalo's offense last month, and now you're going to go against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry after you just gave up 250 yards in Baltimore. Give me the Ravens. They're 1-5, and Pittsburgh was 4-1 at their bye, and they already caught him. So obviously, who's playing better? Pittsburgh's 2-5 of the last 7 games. So offense put up 115. Or I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers put up 115 yards, but barely over 200 total yards offense. Give me the Ravens. I still think the Ravens win the division, and they take care of business at home.
I think you're wrong. I think the Steelers get it done in this game. You said it early on. You said it. Pretty sure you said it during our prediction. You said the Steelers go 9-8, 10-7, and they're going to beat a team, like they're going to win some games. You'll be like, what the hell was that? But also they're going to have performances like last week where, Aaron Rodgers gets beat up, Joey Bosa murders him. Looks like the guy from Home Alone.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers can get it done. Obviously, Tomlin's not stupid. Tomlin sees the writing on the wall at this point. He can see that, he's probably on his way out the door. I mean, when you have Renegade, which is a Steelers tradition, being booed over and not singing, not getting after it with the song, and the fire Tomlin chants, he definitely, he's not stupid. He definitely knows that. I feel like he's gonna, whatever little bit of culture he has left in there, I feel like will bring him into this game. And like you talked about, the records kind of really close to 50-50. Like the stats, the records don't matter, and I think even Aaron Rodgers, who, he's new to this rivalry to say, I think he still knows the magnitude of it, especially coming into been there, done that before, where he got hot with the Packers that one year and made a deep playoff run to the NFC Championship. And I'm not saying the Steelers have the ability to do that, but I think they beat the Ravens in this game to get it done against. I believe in the Steelers. I know that defense doesn't look good, but something has to click eventually, or at least I hope it would. And obviously, I haven't been through it year after year after year like Twitch has. So obviously, I understand why he takes the way he takes it. But
makes the AFC North much more interesting.
I enjoy. This very definitely does. And this game's always a good game. It's always a hard hitting game across the board. So I'm excited to watch it for sure. But I think the Steelers pull it out. Upset the Colts earlier in the year in a crazy game that we gave them no chance. And I feel like it's kind of the same where there's enough hate on the outside that they can somehow find some internal motivation and kick the Ravens here.
Well, that's my favorite noon game. We'll move on to the.
I was just going to say kind of an anticlimactic first place showdown, 6 and 16.
6 and 16.
But those games used to always be primetime. They used to be, a lot of times, both games would always be primetime just because of how close and how physical they were, because you had, like I said, guys like James Harrison. And that's probably like, I'm going to be biased, but probably one of, if not the hardest hitting game ever was the 2008 AFC Championship against the Ravens. Like, just used to be. It was just 15 rounds. It was a boxing match. It was a war. So, but,
there's the love of the Steelers.
Yeah. That team's gone. That culture's gone.
So the next one, it's the
Tom's
same.
got him to the equivalent of, like, I don't even want to say it, like it was to turn into a rated R podcast real fast. But we're almost asking for $15 on the corner just to put a fucking shot in the arm. That's where our team's at.
Anyways.
All right. Well, we do have some other games going on. Not going to get them here. But we do have the Saints at the Bucks at noon on Sunday.
This game, obviously, have taken the Bucks in this one. But the Saints been on. The Saints obviously almost tried to come back last week. Have a successful onside kick recovery, the third in the NFL this season. But I'm taking the Bucks in this one. Baker Mayfield comes back last week and beats the Cardinals in a not very exciting fashion, but I think they still get it done. I mean, the Saints team is not good, obviously. They're fighting for a number 1 pick in the NFL right now. So.
Well, they're not going to beat the Titans.
Well, they've been competitive for a couple of weeks in a row, like the Saints have. But I feel like Baker gets it done. So
Yeah.
I won't spend a lot of time talking about that divisional game.
It'll be close.
I mean, it was close the first time,
Yeah.
but
The Bucks will.
Bucks at home.
Go Baker. All right, so Colts, like you said, they've been on a little slide here, and they're playing in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's been on a little bit of a run here for sure.
Yeah, so this interesting game, I think.
I think this will definitely be an interesting game. I think this game, I know there's 4 weeks left after this one, but I think that this shows how the rest of the Colts season is going to go, no matter what the rest of those games are. I think if they can beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville and you right the ship here, I think it makes them competitive in the rest of the games. But if they can't, then I think the Colts could slide and the Texans might catch them, or the Colts might mess around and win the AFC South. Who knows how that's going to work?
Yeah,
For sure, but
I think this is a kind of an under the radar huge game because they said Jacksonville for the most part, give or take against that collapse in Houston.
yeah.
Jacksonville's been pretty consistent for the most part. They beat some good teams. They beat the Niners. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they did.
So
Shut up.
I was tempted to pick Jacksonville because it's in Jacksonville and they don't get the love that they probably deserve. I mean, me included. I like Trevor Lawrence, but I don't. Same thing. They have a decent defense. They have a couple good playmakers, but nothing exciting. But they're above average team. But I do believe the Colts are a legitimate good team, and only for another one of those. Only for the fact of them being on a 2-game losing streak, I feel like the Colts find a way to win as well. But I just was going to say, I didn't mean to take the paper from you, but I was just saying, we're talking about 3 games. You could, if you're an NFL schedule maker, we're talking week 14 out of 18, and you've got 3 games this week between we mentioned the Steelers, Ravens, another game we're getting ready to talk about in a few minutes, the Bears and Packers, and then you have this game. So 3 games this week that will be deciding who's going to be in first place in their division, and then you throw in some other games we'll get to, like the Chiefs, Texans, or the Cowboys, Lions, the Eagles, Chargers teams that are right on that cusp, fighting for seeding or fighting for a playoff spot. 2 solid teams. So some solid games this week, but I just wanted to throw a shout out because I just noticed that about the Colts Jags, being reminded about that we have at least, we're on week 14. If you're an NFL schedule maker, knocked it out of the park. Some big games this week. Anyway, I got the Colts though.
Yeah, I had the Colts as well. I don't know if I said that when I went on my rant, but
You did.
got the Colts.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it would be a close game, but only for the fact of I do believe the Colts are balanced and legit. They played some good teams, and against a familiar opponent, they get off the schneid. I think they're for no other reason than I think they're too good to lose 3 straight.
I did get to catch a little bit of the recap of the Titans game last week and saw Cam Ward doing Titans things. So
Yeah.
we do have the Titans at the Browns this next week.
Yeah, this is the game for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Titans 1-10, the Browns 2-9, 2-8. I don't. So, I mean, whoever wins this one has a clear shot to get the first overall pick in the NFL draft. I have the Browns winning this one purely because of one man, and that man is Myles Garrett. Cam Ward leads the league being sacked 74 times so far this season. Myles Garrett chasing the sack record. He's definitely licking his chops going into this one. Myles Garrett, every game recently has been writing 25 on his wrist because that's what he wants to set the new sack record at. And I think he has a really good chance this week to, if not get the sack record, because, I mean, he's at 19 now. So
You get a half sack Sunday.
I think so. So
That's what I was going to ask. Where was he at last
he's
week? So
so
half
he's
sack.
he's on pace to hit 25 for sure. He's actually on pace to hit 27, but I think his goal is 25, and I think the Titans show an easy target for that. And I think purely because
He'll get 4.
yeah, if 3, I mean
2 at least.
most sacked quarterback in the league
Yeah.
on a team that's reeling.
At least 2.
Yeah,
At least 2.
Yeah, at least. I mean, Myles Garrett, he
I think so.
could go crazy and break the record. And
I'm going to put a 4 down here. Next to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
give me the Browns though. I think the Titans get the first overall pick, and they take.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you start in this kind of rebuild. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in their later podcast when we do team needs. But think that the Titans, when we do team needs, will be highlighted everything minus quarterback.
Right. Yeah, give me the Browns. I mean, so we're talking. I think they're 3-9, 2-3-9, 2-10 versus 3-9.
Yeah.
But Cleveland's been competitive in over half their games. It's in Cleveland. I know it was the Raiders who aren't that great this year, but Sanders playing decent. I said, but I feel like that the Browns obviously have more playmakers. They've got some guys on offense, and their defense is legit. And against a quarterback that's so up and down, yeah, and fighting for his life and playing on the road, I just feel like he makes a couple mistakes. As long as Cleveland doesn't turn the ball over, I think that they win. So, give me the shit stains.
Can't believe nobody took the Titans. All right. So we got the Commanders at the Vikings going up north.
Yeah, give me the Commanders. Marcus Mariota played himself hell of a game on Sunday against the Broncos. Definitely had my pulse up, my blood pressure up.
Yeah, I know we talked about that, game versus the Broncos. You said he played a ball-out
Yeah, he
game.
played. Yeah, Marcus Mariota had a lights-out game. I mean, heartbreaking loss for him, very much so, because obviously, he's at the back half of his career, and that would have been a good, obviously, knock out the Broncos would have been a good signature win for him to ride off into the sunset with, but it didn't happen. But, I mean, plays a lights-out game. The Commanders' offense is clicking. Terry McLaurin came back and had a great week. Obviously, not against Patrick Surtain, but Riley Moss kind of had a down week for the Broncos, which will happen when you're a white cornerback in the NFL. They're out to get you.
Yeah.
But I got the Commanders winning this one against the Vikings.
Okay.
But mainly because last week Vikings threw 4 interceptions. Rookie. If J.J. McCarthy does come back, recently he put out there that he refers to himself as 9 when he's playing the game. He's not J.J. or, he's not himself. He's number 9.
Ocho Cinco.
Yeah, same concept, but he's obviously not as good as Ocho Cinco.
He's not too bad from averaging about that many turnovers a game that he's been playing the last month.
Well,
nice.
This backup quarterback, obviously we talked about last week, if J.J. McCarthy would have spiked the ball every time, he would have attempted a pass with a better QBR. The quarterback that started last week had the same problem and had a QBR less than he would have spiked the ball on the ground every single time. So you could take that as you will. I think another
consistency.
Yeah, consistency for sure. I got the Commanders in this one though.
Commanders.
Vikings offense with how good they could have been is going to go down as probably one of the worst blunders. I mean, you have Jay Jettis in his prime, Jay Addison. You had Aaron Jones, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you have T-Hawk.
Yeah.
You have guys everywhere, and you just can't figure out a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, and if you're the Vikings too, I mean, like you said, you have
Last year you had Darnold and
Daniel Jones. So, I like the Commanders as well, just for the fact of Mariota's played pretty well since he's been in and played quite a bit this year. And like I said, that was one of the best games of the week was actually that Broncos-Commanders game. And then even after having the touchdown called back in overtime, it was overtime, being able to come back and still lead another drive and throw another touchdown to McLaurin. So they've got weapons galore. And like Minnesota, again, we've talked about that before. They're kind of a sneaky, hard place to play. They're a team that beat the Lions, which isn't as big a deal the last couple of months as we thought it'd be. But like they played the Ravens close. They played some close games. Minnesota's a tough place to play, so I could see them against Mariota. Not like he's an all-world player.
Yeah.
So it's like I could see Minnesota keeping it close, maybe an upset. It's not that big of an upset. Commanders are where they are for a reason, but they still have a lot of talent, even with all the injuries. And I like the Commanders, and especially because the last time I'd seen it was supposed to be that rookie quarterback for the Vikings. So for that reason, I'm going with the Commanders. Both teams, very disappointing year for both. These are two teams that were in the playoffs last year that aren't going to sniff it this year.
Yeah.
So disappointing season for both. But I like the talent better with the Redskins.
All right, well, we have the Seahawks going out to Atlanta playing the Falcons. I don't know. I don't feel like the Falcons stand a chance.
You know what? We said that last week as well. And guess what? They lost to the Jets.
Well, that's a different story.
It's a different story.
Story.
And also, this is another West Coast team going and playing out at noon on the East Coast to a team that has been dangerous all year. I mean, and we say dangerous, they have 4 wins.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they 30-0'd the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they've won some games they're not supposed to. They've lost some games, obviously, that they weren't supposed to. But I feel like there needs to be a class action lawsuit out there for the Falcons fans of what they've had to go through this year. I mean, 28-3 and then this now. I mean, come over, pick a different team. It's okay.
Right.
But I have the Seahawks getting this one done. I think Sam Darnold hopefully bounces back this week for my fantasy team, but also just for in terms of getting ready for this playoff run that the Seahawks are looking to queue up here. I think the Seahawks get it done out there in Atlanta. This game's scary to pick the Seahawks just because of how the Falcons have been this year, and it's West Coast going East Coast, and we saw like a kind of dangerous team, and the Panthers beating the Rams. I don't know. Give me the Seahawks. I have faith in that offense and that defense.
Well, they need it, so.
I think we've said, screw the Falcons for messing up before those upsets against the Bills and the games they're not supposed to win, and then you have them pick going against the Jets and people like that, and they just completely lay an egg. So, like I said, I always talk about the West Coast, the East Coast, but I think Seattle's one of the top 2 or 3 just completely balanced team. I said they have everything. I mean, they really do. I mean, the biggest question mark to me is going to be like Sam Darnold's played really good for them. He played really good last year for the Vikings, but if he can knock off the turnovers that he's known for in New York, they've had blips this year, like that Rams game. But if they can get rid of that, like I said, they've got 3 good receivers. They got Cooper Kupp to move the sticks. They've got a number 1 as good as productive, even more productive than George Pickens. They have the number 1 receiver as far as production goes this year in the Jigba. They've got a good 1-2 punch with Kenneth Walker. Their defense is one of the top 3 in the NFL in sacks and turnovers. And also it seems like every week, like last week was another week where they pitch a shutout, but I think it's 3 out of the last 4 weeks where they've had a touchdown in return for the side. So they're not only they get the turnovers, but they score with them. So anyway, so I won't get up on a tangent with the Seahawks. But seriously, they get turnovers. Their secondary is good. They get sacks. They get pressure constantly. They play hard. I don't think, like I said, the West Coast, East Coast, Falcons, every time we count them out and every time we count on them, they do the opposite. Whatever we call, they do the opposite. So, but with that, I feel like Seattle catching with the Rams. I mean, obviously they have one more game left with the Rams, but they have the same record as the Rams. And so getting that give me last week, and I feel like the Seahawks take care of business. I think they're on a mission, and I don't trust the Falcons.
Yeah.
And I no longer like the Falcons after this year.
Yep. No longer feel bad about 28-3.
Well, this brings us to our last noon game on Sunday. Could be the game of the week. We got a couple game of the weeks that we've talked about non-prime time games. We do have one left here at the noontime slot. Bengals at the Bills. This is interesting to me.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the Bengals beat the Ravens, and they don't just barely squeak out a win. They dominate the Ravens on that Thanksgiving night game. And then the Bills, obviously they're the Bills. They're good. They have Josh Allen. They do what they do to the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. So, I mean, Twitch is over here shrugging his shoulders like, oh, they're the Steelers. Massive. Who cares? But, I mean, still the Steelers. Steelers are the Steelers. Not this year, though. But this game's interesting because Joe Burrow obviously coming back. T. Higgins reportedly to be back this next week off his injury. So, I mean, he's going to have his 2 weapons back. And that defense just played inspired last week against the Ravens. Obviously a divisional game. But I can see Joe Burrow coming back and being complete in his heel arc, you could say. With, obviously he wants to beat the Ravens twice. He definitely has his game circled to knock Josh Allen off. This would complete the Joe Burrow arc. So I have the Bengals getting the upset win against the Bills. I think the Bengals have all the right. Yeah, screw it. We have nothing left to play for. I mean, there's an outside chance they can make the playoffs still statistically, but some crazy stuff has to happen. So I think the Bengals get it done. I think Joe Burrow says, yeah, you know what, Josh Allen, you won MVP last year, but it's just because I was hurt. Yeah. And because, they got hot at the end of last year, and right now they're queuing up a hot run at the end of this year. So
I'd like to see that. So,
well, and traditionally, I didn't look before, but it's like you said, to me, this is one of the most interesting games of the week, just because of, like you said, with their leader back, losing 8 out of 9 games while Burrow was out, and then you see like I said, I think they won the last 5, if not the last 6 games last year. Nobody would want to play Cincinnati at the end of the year last year. And just traditionally, since Joe Burrow's been healthy, when he's been healthy, like 21, obviously they won 5 or 6 straight, and then they went to the playoffs, knocked off the Chiefs, lost the Super Bowl. Next year they go to the AFC Championship game. They get hot. So Cincinnati, since Burrow's been there, when he's been healthy, they get super hot this time of year. And I don't know what the I know in 21, 22, in the regular season and like in the playoffs of 21, I don't know how many times they played. I think the last time Allen probably beat him. But I feel like Burrow has been the more impressive between the two when they played on the head-to-head. This would be really. I mean, I said Joe Burrow. I said with the Bengals. What's crazy is like we were talking about a little bit ago. I said, but it's still highly unlikely after being 3-8, but it's not unfathomable because you got the Ravens and Steelers sitting there at 6-6, and even if they split, then I said Cincinnati would have to win their last 6 and get that to 9-8 for that even happen. Yeah. But after they play Buffalo, they play the Ravens again, but it's in Cincinnati, and we just saw what they did. And then they have like the Cardinals, Jets, or Cardinals, Browns, Jets. I mean,
they played the Cardinals, the Browns.
Probably going to win the last 3.
Yeah.
Let's just be real, especially with the playoff spot. So now it's like, it's not unfathomable starting with this game and Cincinnati carrying that momentum the way they played last week against Baltimore. Josh Allen and that team, obviously the Bills have been the better team, especially this year. Better defense. Cincinnati's defense obviously is not very good. So I still am picking the Bills because of getting a little momentum playing against us last week and playing in Buffalo. I'm still picking the Bills because I still trust Josh Allen just as much. If it was just about any other quarterback, I'd probably pick the Bengals. But I'm like, we're talking in my mind. I don't know, like people talk about Hurts and Stafford, like, but for the young and May and Knicks might be up there next year. But like, you ask me who the top 3, Lamar Jackson. To me, there's still the top 3 quarterbacks are Mahomes and then Burrow, Allen. Yeah. So like in my mind, 2 of the top 3 quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I mean, Bill's trying to keep pace with the Patriots, obviously, and the Patriots being on a bye. But like I said, with the Bengals, though, I said, let's say they win 6 straight and they sweep the Ravens. Well, that means that puts the Ravens at least losing 8 games because they're already 6 and
Yeah.
And then they'd have the tiebreaker. Oh, I'm sorry, because they just played. That's 1 of the 6 losses, so that would be 7. But then it's not unfathomable. All Baltimore would have to do is if Pittsburgh splits with them, very fathomable. And I can't remember who else they have. Maybe the Seahawks. They have somebody else that's tough. I don't have the Ravens schedule in front of me, but it's pretty. They have another really tough game. To where what I'm saying is, if the Bengals sweep them, and let's say we split Baltimore and they get to 9-8, I don't say our schedule going down the stretch is we've got the Lions, we've got the Ravens twice. I don't think we win more than 3 games, which puts us at 9-8. So what I'm saying is like, it's not that unfathomable that for the 3-8 Bengals to really make the playoffs, and these 2 games right here for them, the other game against the Ravens and this week against the Bills, could really, because then to me the AFC North wide open.
Yeah.
I mean seriously, like, it's crazy to think that 4-8. Because last week I'm thinking, gosh, I get that he gives you a better chance. Like Joe Flacco didn't hurt your team, but I know Burrow's better, but like there's no chance you're going to catch him, even if you win out. But now it's not unfathomable. Like I said, Pittsburgh's probably losing at least 2, if not 3 more games. Baltimore, if Cincinnati controls their own destiny for them, other than, if they win out, really the only other thing that they have to have happen, because they would give Baltimore that 7th loss, only thing they'd have to have was for Baltimore to lose another one of those other 4 games, and guess what? Then they're the divisional champs at 9-8, and then the playoffs. The same thing. If they win 6 straight or 9-8, again, that's not a team you don't want. With the Chiefs you don't want to. You're not. Oh, I hope I play Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, Josh Allen in the first round of the playoffs, because you know that once you get in the playoffs, anything's possible.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but give me the Bills. I feel like the Bills, when they play at their best, they are still a top 4 team. I said Josh Allen and like it's in Buffalo.
They were my squeaky 5, so
I didn't even want to tangent there about the Bengals, but they go for Finn.
Yeah,
but that's just crazy to me to think that they could be 3-8 and like legitimately have a chance to win that division.
Afternoon game, got the Broncos at the Raiders.
With the Broncos, hopefully it's better than a 10-7 game. Hopefully, obviously last week we're pushing the ball down the field more. So hopefully this next week we push the ball down the field more and some downfield passes and
I want to see what the offense produces
Yeah.
out there against the Raiders. That's
I
what
think our
wanna
defense
see.
will be fine.
And that's a good team to push it out there.
It's a good
against.
team. This is a good tune-up game right here for us to
Tune-up game. Yeah, for sure.
tune-up game to get right
Nice call.
down the stretch here. So let's go handle business, and then we're looking at, we're hanging out with 11 wins, and then it's all downhill from there. I mean, got the Packers after that, so that'll be interesting. But
Yeah.
let's take care of the Raiders. Let's get right for the Packers game.
Divisional win would be great
Yeah,
for
it'd be
them.
huge.
Yeah, I won't spend a whole lot of time talking about this one. Broncos won 9 straight. They're legit. There's certain times where,
And so now we take you to.
but there's certain times each year, like I said, with each team and whoever gets hot at the end of the year, where you just have like those, everything's clicking for you moments. Part of it's luck, some of it's skill, and so then like Monday night, just how many times have we seen Denver down there? Somebody push them to the end, and then it goes their way. And like I said, that's not all luck. The players make the plays in those high pressure moments. And I think those are the things. Those are the things that if you can do that in the playoffs, are usually the difference in those close games. Is how you perform in those high pressure situations. Mm-hmm. And Denver, knowing that this is one of the few, I hate to say gimme games they have left, but a real chance to pretty much put the division on ice. It won't this week. They still got to play the Chargers. They still got to play the Chiefs. But like I said, I won't spend a lot of time on it. Denver's legitimate. There's something special about this team. And I said, first of all, the Raiders' offense has been atrocious all year long. So with Denver's defense, I said, hopefully it's a lot better than that Thursday night game we watched about a month ago. But
I'm good on another 10-7, guys. Come on now.
whatever that was, 18, 3 and outs or whatever it was. But I feel like Denver's offense has played a lot better since then, and I like for them to take care of business pretty easily.
Unfortunately, I think that's the way that's going to roll out. The 3:25 game, it's the Bears at the Packers. That could be the other game of the week. In my opinion, I think that's got some big old playoff implications. So,
Yeah, very much so. Excited. Definitely a game we should have on. I'm guessing it's on Fox just because it's a NFC game.
absolutely.
If I had to rip it off the dome, but be very excited for this one. Bears obviously number one seed in the AFC or NFC right now, and playing the team that's a game back because of their tie, and the Green Bay Packers. Right now, 68.7% of the money. So people are betting. It doesn't really matter, but 68.7% of the money is on the Packers. I have the Bears in this one, though. I think the Bears have got hot at the right time, that run game. Obviously, that Packers defense has been lights out the whole year. The whole season. Obviously, you trade for Micah Parsons. They have studs on defense. Their offense is clicking with wide receiver by committee, and you got to thank Josh Jacobs. But I think the Bears find a way to go back-to-back, knocking off 2 NFC heavyweights back-to-back and say, hey, guys, like, we're here. Like, people need to start respecting us. And I think this will be another good signature win for Ben Johnson. Obviously, the Lions went back and forth with the Packers the last couple years with Ben Johnson as the OC. So they obviously know each other, and I think the Bears' edge just went out just because of how hot they've been. Granted, it's in Lambeau, and who knows what the weather in Lambeau is going to look like on Sunday. But I think both teams are made to play outside in an amazing Week 14 matchup.
Yeah.
This would be an exciting game no matter how it goes, for sure, just because of 2 NFC heavyweights division game.
Well, and you talk about
Bears-Packers.
Yeah, you talk about Eagles, Cowboys, Steelers, Ravens. Like you talk about all time. This is probably I think it literally is the oldest rivalry. Maybe the Lions have been there from the beginning. I think since 2. But I said this. This on paper is probably the biggest game of the week. I said you got 9-3 versus 8-4. Whoever. Who's got?
The Packers have the tie with the Cowboys. So
Yeah, that's right. So 8-3-1.
you-
Sorry, and not 8-4, 8-3-1. So they're a half game back of the Bears, not a whole game. But whoever wins is in sole first place. And so, if you're Chicago, then you're a game and a half with 4 games to play, and you still got to play them again. But you're up by a game and a half. You have 10. Green Bay's at 8. So a chance for Chicago really to really solidify their chance of a playoff spot. And like I said, the balance that they've had and being able to rush for 300 yards, that even in the ups and downs of Green Bay this year, though, their defense has been pretty solid all year round. I feel like just traditionally the Packers have owned the Bears. Yeah. It's in Lambeau. I said Chicago, I think, will be hungry to find no, this is our and. But I just feel like Jordan Love and the Packers find a way to beat the Bears like they normally do at home and take over first place. But on paper, any of the other big games and close, for the spot of the division lead, like this is probably the best one on paper was this 325 game.
Yeah.
The oldest rivalry.
All right, so the other 325 game is the Rams at the Cardinals.
I got the Rams in this one. The Cardinals have played. I think the Cardinals are over in one-score games this year, but they've had 8 of them. I think. I'm pulling that completely off the head, but the Cardinals have been in a bunch of one-score games. They somehow stick around in these games, but I think the Rams get it done. I think the Rams bounce back in a big way against a division rival. And I mean, they didn't get embarrassed last week by the Panthers, but I think Stafford said, "Shit, I cost our team the win." I think Stafford comes out and has a great game. I wouldn't be surprised if Devontae Adams somehow catches another goal line touchdown. I get you have to cover Puka and you have to cover Higbee and you have to cover their other 2 wide receivers, but I'm just interested to. But the ball inside the 20 is probably going to go to Devontae Adams, so why don't we start double covering him? I have Puka on my fantasy team. I'd appreciate a touchdown every once in a while, Puka. I know you're not listening to this. You're playing basketball with Devontae Adams, but with his Taco Bell in his house. But give me the Rams in this one.
I won't spend a lot of time on this one. Everyone's kind of taking their turn on the Cardinals this month.
Yeah, it hasn't been pretty, man.
I didn't mean it like that. No, like I said, I've actually, like we started off at the beginning of the show, I have the Rams as the most complete team, and right now the benefit of the doubt with Matthew Stafford and the balance they have on both sides. And taking care of, I think last week was just an anomaly, and really they lost by a field goal. They fought till the end. They said, but very uncharacteristic game, and probably just focused. Like Panthers have been competitive and good all year, but I don't think that they probably thought, that. I don't think they were trying. I don't think they were up for they didn't take him as serious as what they probably should have. And like I said, Carolina had to play a damn near perfect game. And same thing with Philadelphia. When Philadelphia came back on the Rams earlier this year, they had to play a whole perfect half and block 2 kicks. So it was like Rams too good, Cardinals another one of those bottom 5-6 teams in the NFL. A divisional game, but this is not one of those ones that's going to be close. Give me the Rams. I don't want to overthink it.
Well, that wraps up the afternoon games. Going to get into Sunday Night Football. The one I'm most interested in is the Texans at GEHA Stadium playing the Chiefs. Do or die time for Kansas City for sure.
This is definitely you win, you have a chance. If you lose, you're basically mathematically eliminated from making the playoffs. You're sitting there in a Bengals situation where you obviously need to win out and do all this crazy. You need this team to win by 14 and this team to lose by 10 and all that crazy fun mathematics.
The Bengals actually have a better chance if the Chiefs lose this game.
Yeah, very much so. So I have the Texans winning this one because of the defense. We talked about this game has been on, I feel like, the Chiefs' radar for a little bit here. Because, obviously, the games they're playing now are must-win games. But I think in the back of at least my head personally, I remember what the Texans did to the Bills in primetime and what they did to Josh Allen. And granted, the Bills' the Bills' offensive line, it's probably a little less, not as good as the Chiefs. But also the Chiefs, we've seen struggles with the Chiefs blocking up defenses and giving Mahomes enough time to get the ball out to weapons. And like we talked last week, the rush game for the Chiefs was not where it was the week before. The week before they gave Kareem Hunt 30 carries and they won that game. Then last week they don't give Kareem Hunt 30 carries and Pacheco comes back and obviously they don't get that rush game going and they end up losing the way they did. And I think the Texans, if the Chiefs are somehow gonna win this game, they need to run the ball, keep the ball keep the ball moving forward, positive yards, and you can't have Mahomes running around for his life back there because there's this guy down there named Will Anderson Jr. who they traded up for and gave a bunch of picks up for that was crowning Josh Allen. Nothing against Mahomes. Mahomes has I can only describe as the Mahomes shake, where he can get guys off of him. But Will Anderson might miss you on the first time he swings by you, but he's going to get you on the second time. And they have Neil Hunter, and they have Devin Singletary on the backside. Or Devin Stingley Jr. on the backside. They have dudes everywhere on that defense. So I think this game will be close. I think Spags will have a solution for CJ, but I think the Texans defense will stuff the Chiefs offense, and it'll just be a game of field goals, or CJ Stroud might come out and say, oh, hey, remember 2 years ago when I beat you last time and beat you in embarrassing fashion? Yeah, it's happening again. Which, I'm excited for this game for sure. It's definitely circled on both these teams' calendars. Yeah. Primetime game. The Texans know this is their second primetime game of the year, so, this one's obviously had an apostrophe next to it, so.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. Talking about overall just an excellent primetime week.
Yeah.
For some that are hit and miss, but between the Cowboys, Lions, Texans, Chiefs, both of them fighting for a playoff spot and both have a legitimate chance. And then the Monday night game we'll get to in a minute, being the Chargers, Eagles. But, so the thing that scares me for the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are my number 2 team, but it's just, again, I've been all over the Texans. I've been watching them the last 2 months because that defense gives up. And last week literally gave up 16 points, and it seems like they average 5 or 6 sacks a week. So in my mind, honestly, you're right. The best way to slow down a pass rush is a good running game, and Kareem Hunt has got the ball running over the last couple of games a little bit more. But I don't think Kansas City can score enough points. Kansas City's had a hard time scoring 20 points on anybody, and Houston's got the best of any of these guys that they faced. So I think the only way that, since Kansas City's going to have to they're going to have to take some shots downfield, and they're going to have to keep Mahomes upright. That's how I think Kansas City wins that game. And I have only for the fact of I think this is going to be a close game. It's going to be a great game. I am a believer in this Texans team. And over the last month, they played better. But I feel like, for no other reason, because they're desperate and they're Andy Reid and the Chiefs, and I'm just going to I have the Chiefs winning because of 15. That's the only reason I have them. That's the only reason I have them winning, is because I feel like he takes it to another level this week. It's going to be a close game. Texans are legit, but the Chiefs have been on a whole other level. Maybe not this year. They've lost a lot of close games. But I'm not going to lie. Not to play devil's advocate or take the easy way. I'm not going to be surprised if the Texans get the upset, just because it's going to be tough for Kansas City. If they can keep him upright and give him time, then I think they have a shot. But so I agree. Most of the time I would agree with you, though. Again, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but the best way would be to do have a running game would be the best way to slow down that pass rush. But I don't think that Kansas City's going to be able to rush. I guess when I say rushing, I'm talking about consistently for 100 yards. You're right, to some level, Kansas City's going to have to be able to get those 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and extend those drives as the only way. So, a good game might be 50 yards for Kareem Hunt, but he had 6 or 7 first downs and keeps drives going, or scores a goal line touchdown, because that's how stingy this Texas. I think it's going to be tough for the Chiefs. So they'll either answer the bell or not. Yeah. But for no other reason than they need it more than the Texans. I don't know. They both need it equally, but 15. That's the reason why I'm going with the Chiefs on Sunday.
I hope so. So that takes us to Monday Night Football, Eagles at the Chargers.
Yeah, a very interesting game, just because the Chargers have been hit or miss all season. Obviously they get blown out in embarrassing fashion by the Jags. And then we got the Eagles here doing Eagles things. Losing the way they did, and now you have all this locker room drama that we've talked about throughout the whole podcast. The Chargers beat the Raiders last week. Whoop, whoop. Welcome to the show. I have the Eagles winning this one, though. I think the Eagles are clearly the better team. Justin Herbert being questionable and Trey Lance being the starter if Justin Herbert can't play, or Justin Herbert with hand surgery, obviously, won't be as effective as normal. So that's why I have the Eagles in this one, just because I think the Eagles are a better team. Hopefully A.J. Brown gets more targets, gets the ball in his hand more than 10 times for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I think this is a good chance I feel like this would be a good defensive game. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling because I have the Eagles in this one, and that's it.
I've got the Eagles. Chargers been up and down, and then like they played a lot better over the last 3 games, and I think Herbert will play. And again, the Eagles have been struggling on offense. I feel like the defense makes enough plays and is more physical than what the Chargers are, and just I feel like the Eagles very easily could be 11 and 11
very
or
much so.
whatever it is, 10-2, 11-1. And I just feel like they're the better team. I think the Chargers will be fighting for that those final playoff spots too. So again, I think this is going to be a good game. But I feel like the Eagles and their history, I feel like they find a way to get it done.
Very much so. So that concludes our picks here for Week 14. This week on the bye, New England Patriots, hottest team in the league, on a bye. The Panthers on a bye after a huge win. The 49ers getting some much-needed rest, and the New York Giants doing whatever they're doing on the bye week, making off-season plans. Twitch this week moves to 138, 54-1. I am 118, 74-1. So Twitch is running away with it here. Both went 11-5 last week, so that was good for both of us. But Twitch is going to win this by 30 games at this rate unless something crazy happens.
Don't beat yourself up over it.
As I'm not too worried about it.
I don't even mean that cockiest, but this is probably one of the better ones. Because I was like, we were talking about it before. I figured out of 13 weeks, I've had at least 12 weeks where I picked at least 10 games or more correctly. I've had 3 or 4 weeks where I only missed 2.
Early in the season, I definitely made some emotional picks as well.
Right.
And that was like, oh shit, why did I pick that?
Right.
Or, like I have a moment where, like last week, right before the Chiefs Cowboys kickoff, I texted the group chat and said, Cowboys are going to win. I don't know why I picked the Chiefs at all, and then it ends up happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just gut reaction at the time, I guess. But appreciate everybody listening, hanging out with us this week 14. Kind of in December football now, so this is when everything starts to matter a little bit more. Even the games like the Broncos playing the Raiders mean a little bit more than it did before if it was a September game. Excited to see what all of our teams do this week. Excited to watch this week's slate of games. Like Twitch said earlier, just got for a Week 14 matchup when it's a random week in the NFL season, you hand pick it out. Who would have thought that we would have had this many games that actually matter in the look at the playoff picture and all the primetime games being home runs across the board. So appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Appreciate LSV out here for hosting us every week.
Backstage
Pass, Bar Griddle, and Spa. But
Yeah. That's good to have a hangout.
yeah, you got a lot of tags on here. But please like, comment, and subscribe down below. And hope everybody has a great week. Hope all your bets hit. Hope you all stay safe out there. Got a little snowy here in Kansas this week, so hopefully stay safe on those winter roads. Don't fall on the ice like I did a couple times.
3 weeks till Christmas tomorrow.
Yeah, 3 weeks till Christmas, so we're almost there, guys. We're almost there.
Sounds good.
But,
Thanks for listening.
yeah, thanks everybody for listening.